What is up, YouTube? I was just chilling and I saw a tweet from my homie Tectone. Good old, the big ball man, or sorry, let me just say, Ek-Own, because no one's allowed to say his name because he will find you and he will put you on blast. I saw a tweet that he posted and it caught my eye a lot, and I wanted to talk about it a little bit in a bit of a video format. The tweet in question is essentially talking or showing a graph between Wuthering Waves, Honkai Star Rail, Genshin Impact. And Genshin Impact, boom, 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 bang, 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 high up. Honkai Star Rail in the middle, Wuthering Waves on the bottom, but on the rise. Just like my YouTube channel and my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/TheRoy, by the way. I think this graph is really interesting because a lot of people, we already all know about Kuro Games, and I think it's gonna blow up a lot quicker than people realize, and people can give it credit for. Because Hoyo Games and Genshin, they obviously had the first Hoyo game Genshin, well, the first big Hoyo game Genshin had the COVID buff, and we all know how that went. That shit blew up. It is now a global game and the biggest gacha, and obviously anything they make after that is gonna pop off just for sheer size of players that they have access to. And a lot of people find it hard to believe that a game like Wuthering Waves, made by, Kuro Games, which, me personally, I didn't hear about until Punishing Grey Raven, which was also a pretty recent game, but they did an absolute dog-ass job with advertising. So that didn't really get anywhere, but the combat's really good, and the skins are super hot, and it's a pretty good game overall. Just never got any advertising, no one knew about it. But I think Kuro Games is starting to get a foothold in the gacha space, and people are starting to notice that Kuro Games makes amazing games, and they're sort of, not directly, but they're essentially just Genshin's competitor. Well, they're directly Genshin's competitor, but they're not going to say it themselves straight up. But no one is expecting Kuro Games to essentially match the level that Genshin and Honkai Star Rail have been at. I mean, the graph sort of showed us that people are starting to take a lot of interest in it. And with Genshin sort of getting complacent, like a big old fat piggy in its pen, just eating food all day, every day with no competition whatsoever, they're starting to, get lazy. And they only just now added some modicum of endgame only when Wuthering Waves was released. So I think they're starting to feel the heat. I will say Honkai Star Rail's latest event was the most dog-ass event I've played probably in any gacha of all time. Almost. The latest event is really bad, and that might be responsible for this little dip right here, which would make sense. Me personally, I almost wanted to quit the game. No, I'm just joking. It was pretty bad, but I didn't want to quit the game, but it was pretty bad. But with Genshin and Honkai Star Rail sort of being like, well, Star Rail's still new, it's still on the rise, still an amazing game. I love Honkai so much. But Genshin's been, obviously, like I said, getting lazy, so Kuro taking advantage of that, I think, is super smart, and I think the game's gonna pop off so much. And I'm being hopeful, but I think that Kuro Games and Wuthering Waves has the opportunity to explode faster than anyone can realize, just like me when I'm pumping your mom. But I think they have the potential to do better for a time than Honkai Star Rail and maybe even Genshin. I think that would be insane, and I think that would completely flip the gacha space on its head, because that would make the god Hoyoverse think twice about, maybe this dog-ass update shouldn't get released. Maybe players are sick of picking mints. Well, I'm not. Me personally, I love picking mint. They are sick of all these awful events, and Kuro Games is here. Save us, Kuro Games! They are here to release us from the prison that is the Genshin Hoyoverse shackles. That awful fucking game. And Kuro Games they're here for us, and they've been proven to listen to the community, and they've done a lot of things that Hoyoverse hasn't had, which I think the potential, this could be a whole video in and of itself, but the potential for skins in Wuthering Waves is going to be great. And so I think the fact that they do so many things that Hoyoverse doesn't, and that Hoyoverse won't do, and that they're going to force Hoyoverse to do, because Hoyoverse has to change in some way, or else they're just not going to keep up with Kuro Games. And so I'm really stoked for Kuro Games to shake up the whole market, and with all that good and bad publicity on them, because all the Kuro stands, me, amongst other people. Well, I would consider myself a Kuro stan. I'm a good game stan. With all the eyes on Kuro Games, for better or for worse, that's a lot of fucking publicity. It's a lot of eyes, a lot of clicks, a lot of numbers, a lot of shit for advertisers to look at, a lot of shit for new people trying to play the new popular hip game to look at. I mean, shit, might even go mainstream. I mean, who knows? Who knows? Because Kuro Games is the kind of game where if you're not into gacha games, it has enough gameplay to where someone from who's not normally in the gacha space could be like, oh, it's a lot of cool gameplay. I'm down to play it. I like some of the characters. Calcharo's badass. But then they see Farina and then they quit the game because Farina's awful. And yeah, that's my thoughts on that. And what I'm specifically stoked for is how the whole gacha space and future gacha games are essentially going to be forced. It just takes the bar from and sets it to hallelujah. And all these new games coming out are going to have to try and compete with that. And I think that's great. I think that's amazing. So it'll turn into essentially like a blue lock space, which I'm really excited for. And with so many changes coming to the gacha space, well, changes that will come to the gacha space, a lot of people tend to think, oh man, the Hoyoverse games are gonna have to change. But I'm kind of thinking also into the future, because with all these changes that Hoyoverse are gonna have to make, any new game that comes into the space is gonna have to match Kuro Games' energy. You know, you can't just come into the gacha space and be like a wet board of a game. And, well, you can if you have gigantic titties and ass. So, I mean, I guess I'm already a point proven wrong, my bad. But getting a new game into the space is going to be more difficult now because Kuro Games is setting the bar up really high. They're listening to the community. I'm just really hoping that Kuro Games doesn't also get lazy. I mean, everyone does at some point. All things come to an end. But I'm really stoked for what Kuro Games is going to do this space, and I think it's only going to be for the better. Unless Wuthering Waves is complete dog shit on launch, which I personally will be absolutely devastated if that's the case. Now, to wrap it all up, what I essentially want to say is Kuro Games is likely going to be bigger than anyone else thinks. I think Genshin is going to have to adapt. I think Honkai's probably they're going to have to adapt. I mean, they're not really the same game genre. You know what I'm saying? They're not really the same game genre, but a good gacha game is a good gacha game. It's going to make everything else change and flip on its head. Kuro Games is, I'm hoping, going to kill it, and all future gacha games are also going to have to adapt. I mean, shit, maybe there's Azure Permilia. I mean, shit, Azure Permilia. If Wuthering Waves is this good, Azure Permilia might even have to make some changes. The shit, the game ain't even out yet. I mean, shit, Azure Permilia is gonna be better when it releases because Kuro Games is so goddamn good. And you can say glazing, you can say grinding. Okay, yeah, I am grinding. Wuthering Waves gonna be good as hell. Well, I'm just trying to say all future games are gonna have to match this energy somehow, and I'm really excited for what it's doing in the gacha space. And that's pretty much it. Love y'all.